Welcome back. Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm brilliant.
All
I'm
right, so
always,
you're
always,
always brilliant.
I'm always, outrageously happy to see you. So
Oh, well, the feeling is absolutely mutual. So, Peter Merrett is one of my incredible book coaching clients. He has a brand new book that's coming out. We're hoping for fall. It's just in its last edits now. And what is your book called, Peter?
it's called Wonderlicious, and the tagline is the lost recipes of life, leadership, and service with wonder.
Ooh, okay. So I first have to tell you that Peter takes the coveted, like one of my favorite clients ever.
Stop
Sorry,
it.
sorry, everybody. It's true. I love our conversations. Peter originally came in and we were only going to work together for like 3 months, and it's been how long now? It's been a while. It's been a good.
It's exactly a year. This might be our anniversary, actually.
Well,
It's a
happy
year.
anniversary.
Thank you. You too.
That's amazing. So,
Yeah.
but prior to starting with me and prior to doing the work on your book with me, you had actually been working on your book for how long?
Um, Almost 4 years. So
Got it.
4 years of this little idea in my mind, 4 years with the desire that I wanted to do this,
Yes.
and 4 years of just gathering my thoughts, writing on millions of pieces of paper, post-it notes, pieces of tissue paper
I
in
have no
restaurants.
idea what that's
Um,
like at all.
yeah, post. So I was surrounded by all of these scribbles and notes and things, and yeah, just but 4 years of thought, I think, before that moment when a good friend of mine introduced me to you. um,
Right. So I mean, you showed up like I feel like from the day I met you, it felt like I'd known you for forever. Like first of all, like there was never any weird, awkward moment with Peter. Peter, you just kind of showed up and you were just part of my life, and that was how it kind of worked out. But tell me about the first call. Like, do you remember all the way back to our first call and what happened?
um, well, I don't think I'll ever forget it, really. um, I think the biggest sense of my memory is just the massive relief when I first met you. Because the thing I loved, or one of the things that I loved about you, Crystal, is that you got me, you understood me really quickly, and you believed in the message of wonder that I was writing. And it was such an effortless time when we first connected. It
Yeah.
just I felt like it's like I had two concrete blocks on my shoulders and they kind of fell away. I was ah
I could see it on our first call. Peter kind of walked in and looked like he was carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, proverbially and literally. And you did walk away from that meeting, and I literally sensed this kind of lightness, like you were like, okay, I can
mm,
finish this thing. It's good. And I mean, we've been working on it for a long time, but admittedly, your book is also fairly lengthy and had a lot of incredible stories. How many chapters do we end up with?
so 18. And as you're so each of the chapters are recipes. So I was determined to do something different, not only a book about wonder, but going back to my beginning as a chef, training as a chef, and bringing those culinary twists into the style and layout and theme of the book. So there isn't a table of contents, there's a menu. So it
Yep.
looks, the contents looks like a traditional fine dining restaurant menu with hors d'oeuvres and appetizers and so forth. And
So
then 18 recipes instead of chapters. And the biggest thing that I was taught in the kitchen with recipes is that a recipe, there's no rules. It's for us to make our own adventure with those ingredients, which is kind of why I was really determined to create recipes. And
And they're
um,
so beautifully written. Like there are at least three stories inside of your chapters that every time I read them, no matter how many times I've read them, you know this, I cry. Even when we're doing edits and I'm talking to Peter, like I'll be like, it's fine, it's good. Like you've got this beautiful brilliance and amazing way of kind of going in and being really emotional and connecting to the emotions of your reader. And I think that comes from, you've been a speaker for years, you've been stepping on stages, but the idea of Wonderlicious, correct me if I'm wrong, but I really feel like wonder and the spirit of wonder was very much kind of your mission throughout life. And delicious is just like the combination of like the training, the background, the chef experience. But you've kind of like melded all parts of your life into this book, I feel like. It's all
Yeah.
Peter all the time, and you guys are gonna love it, for the record.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it was the first time where I've had a chance to actually bring thoughts and ideas and the things that have really impacted me and the people who have inspired me through my life, and actually bring them to life, bring the characters of former leaders, some amazing leaders that I've worked with through my career. I've brought them to life in the recipes. And the biggest thing that's been in my mind is that I didn't want anything that was based on theory. I didn't want to share ideas or theoretical things, but just actual things that have happened to me and for me and with me through my career and life. So everything real, everything is real in the book. But just simply, I think through writing this and being with you, Crystal, it's another reminder that of what wonder actually is, really, that it isn't reserved for the little people in their state of awe. And then as they go through, from little people up to teenage years and then adults, and the wonder starts to fall away.
Yeah.
I've just realized that as I've continued to get older, now as 54, that my 5-year-old,
Barely 30.
yeah, exactly. But it's almost like my 5-year-old self is still informing my sense of wonder. And so I'm kind of, which is ultimately is the heart of the encouragement that I'm determined to bring to life in the book.
Why is wonder so important to you? And I want to stress, like, this was your idea from the get-go. I didn't change the idea. The only thing I worked with you on as a coach was helping flesh out the storytelling and making sure that it was congruent and flowing, and that the writing was actually being done. But wonder was the initial concept that you came in with, and it's always been so important to you. It's what you're known for, even on stage. Why wonder, and why now?
The simple thing with wonder is that it isn't yet something else that we all need to think about or should think about amongst all of the stuff that distracts us every day. Is quite simply that every single one of us around the whole world are born with a sense of wonder. And it's very easy in our hectic, busy, frantic way of life today to think that it isn't there anymore or that it doesn't matter. And it almost feels, personally, it almost feels like my duty to try and help people rediscover and see their sense of wonder again, to get through or to go through the seriousness that everybody is faced with every day, and actually just reconnect to the core of our humility and actually bring fun and play back to our way of life. And just connect with each other on a more deeper personal level, and see the wonder that's around us every single day amongst everything else that shows us that it's, or tells us that it's not there anymore. Yeah.
You have so many examples of wonder inside of your book, but I know from having calls with you every single week about your book that you have so many experiences of wonder, even in your day-to-day life. Things that have happened, things you do to create wonder in your life and with your family and your kids, especially. Can you share a couple like fun wonder stories? Maybe not ones from the book. Let's not totally give it away, but something fun and wonderful that's been happening, just so we can give the audience, like, what do we mean by wonder? So what would be a wonder example? I think I can see one actually in the background. Actually, I can see like three of them in the background. You have these bright yellow things that are everywhere in your business. What are these
What are
bright
these?
yellow things? Those.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, this moment here is inside the Wonder Room, which is where I do all of my online wonder performances and experiences. But so I'm often here by myself during the day. So my company each day are my ducks. And so the ducks are something that were inspired by my youngest son, Jake, who I think was 5 or 6 at the time when I was preparing a presentation. I know in the early days, I'd always show the boys, my 2 boys, my presentations. And Jake said to me one time, "It looks very serious." And I had a number of things I was going to present. And he said, "Why don't you turn them into each point into a duck?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And it was really heavy rain at the time. And he started jumping up and down in the puddles outside, making the noise of a duck. And he said, "Why don't you make ducks? Bring ducks." They'd say there was something about ducks,
That's
and we all turned into ducks in that moment. We're all jumping up and down in the puddles, and then that's where it ultimately led me to creating the emblem of the House of Wonderful, my little business, with the ducks. So now when I'm on stage, wherever it is in the world, I always go with an extra large suitcase full of Wonder Ducks, and I share them with members of the audience because everything I do on stage is very interactive. So turning the whole room into a voice, and through dialogue and conversation, anybody who shouts out the best example or the best idea will receive a Wonder Duck.
oh my gosh, I love it. And you have a new Wonder Duck.
Yeah, these are they're very naughty. They're very naughty. They're very playful. And one night here, I realised that they had found their way into the washing machine and turned it on to high temperature, and all of the ducks went in and they shrunk themselves. So, and now they've become the Inky Dinky Duck.
So
um,
cute.
so now I've got a pocket of Inky
Oh,
Dinky Ducks, just
that's
so I
so
can
cute.
take more with me. So this is a treasured, very important possession that I
That
share
is a
with.
very important possession. I love it.
Uh,
I think that it's such a sweet little momentous moment. And this is just one classic example of Peter bringing wonder. And one of the things that I've learned in a year of working with you, I learned, not you learned, I learned, was how often when you were experiencing the world in a sense of wonder, even and sorry, spirit of wonder, even when you've had tough moments writing your book, even when you've been struggling with, you know, there was a couple moments where you had a lot of family around and it was hard to find the time to write, or like you had, you know, work commitments and you couldn't find the time or whatever. When those moments were happening, you would still show up on calls and we'd still connect. And what I always experienced was that even in those moments of like, things feel heavy, you would still find gratitude and joy and you know, just this sense of wonder of like, I, for the record, I never get on calls with people who are like, you are the most exciting thing to happen to me all week, I'm so excited to see you, and I genuinely always believe it, whether it's true or not. I don't care, I'm choosing to believe every time Peter sees me, it is the most magical moment in his life because he treats it like it is. He has this sense of wonder about every call and he's always curious. And I think that curiosity is part of that wonder, to just be
Cheers.
curious about, what am I going to say? What can I offer? What can we create together? How can we collaborate? Is there a fun surprise that we can throw into the mix? And it has made each one of our experiences. I never regret picking up the phone when you call or when I see an email. I never once, as somebody who is, you know, in business, we all know this, right? We occasionally get emails or have to get on a call and we're like, oh, this person, they're exhausting. Peter is the opposite. He is energizing. Like there have been times I want to call Peter and be like, can we just have a call? Because it's been a week and I just need some joy and some fun and some wonder. And it's been motivating for me even to see it and kind of try and put more wonder back into my own life and take that joy forward. And I think that's part of your mission, right? Is with this book, the goal is really, we want people to read it and take mission out, take wonder back out into the world.
Yeah. So yeah, ultimately everything's wrapped up. My biggest intention with this is just to serve whoever's reading the book with a really important moment of refreshment and encouragement, um, is really what's deep in my heart, I think. But it's
Well,
interesting
and
you say,
who doesn't need it
um,
right now?
yeah, exactly. And it's from what I just heard you say with the weekly meetings and what have you.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I was acutely aware of was my level of overwhelm throughout the whole thing.
Mm,
Um, doing this while family life, running the business, speaking, all the rest of it,
yeah.
I was very aware of my level of overwhelm. And that was one of the biggest things on reflection that you guided me with. And you said something to me midway through was, is there a way that I could reframe overwhelm? And you said to me, could you replace overwhelm with feeling excited? And I practiced it so frequently and consistently that whenever I was faced with that feeling, I challenge myself. Could I be excited about this moment, this task, this thing, whatever it is, just to kind of really level me out. But it's interesting hearing you say is that the other thing I heard you say there, Crystal, was you mentioned that you're the writing coach, writing coach, writing coach. You said
Yeah,
that a few times just before. It
yeah.
goes way, way more than that with me, and you know that that isn't how I see you. That
I know.
you have been my fairy godmother with this,
Oh,
and it's
see, he's gonna
um
make me cry again. Yes.
yeah, well, yeah, it's quite, why
But
not?
it's not a Crystal and Peter conversation unless I cry at least once. That's the deal.
mm,
We're good.
yeah, so gosh, it's
It
been
is
yeah,
it has been a joy. It has been a true pleasure, and I have appreciated all of the moments, the good and the bad and the struggles. And we opted to do your book a bit at a slower pace because of how much storytelling that needed to go into the book and how much we developed the book. So most of my clients, like I said, they'll go through like a 90-day process to finish off their book. At 90 days, you and I both agreed that like you probably could have finished it off then, but realistically, there was more work that we wanted to do and we wanted to tease it out and we wanted to play with it and to get really creative and build a book that was actually wonder built in, if that makes sense. So it's not like your traditional book. Like there are actually moments of joy and surprise inside of this book, which takes a lot more energy than just 90 days. So for those of you who are like, I don't have a year to work with her, it's not normal. Like not everybody does a year. It's normally the 90-day process, but in this particular case, Peter and I really wanted to flesh out some of the pieces, and so we continue to work together and build it out and expand it and get it ready for launch in a different way. And that's always an option for people. Um,
mm,
it's funny you mentioned the overwhelm because I never it, you would come to me and you would say you were overwhelmed, and I was like, it's just a misinterpretation of abundance. I was like, you
mm,
were just so abundant with opportunities and joy and people and wonder that it's hard to fit it all in. And I remember saying like the emotion of overwhelm and the emotion of excitement are the exact same, and to make a choice. And I want to applaud you because you really took that to heart and really did take excitement out into the world with your book and the way that you've spoken
yeah,
about it and kind of greeted it. So I'm
yeah.
excited for people to read this.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right that we could have done this quicker, it could have been faster, we could have got it done. But if anything, I was just determined. Yeah, every sentence, paragraph, point, section, whatever it is, comes with depth of thought and depth of reason
Mhm.
and um, depth of consideration of what I'm not only trying to say, but for the
Right.
person who's receiving those words. So
It's
that,
it
that was
it's a
very
magical
important.
book.
Um,
It's a magical book, and you definitely followed your curiosity. Who is this book for? Like, who's the target market for the book?
God, that was a long pause, wasn't it?
I was like, do you even
Um,
know, Peter? Because I know who your audience is. Who's this?
yeah, I know, and I know that my automatic answer is the wrong answer. That this is a message that can serve any person
That's not
who.
a wrong answer.
But pardon?
That's not a wrong
And
answer.
someone said to me who had previewed the book that everybody
Mhm.
um, could maybe could do with a copy of this, which isn't the target. I can't. It's not to serve it's not the population of the world. I know.
I
Um,
think like my favorite people, the people that I'm most excited to give a copy of your book to are actually the teenagers and 20-year-olds in my life, as well as my parents. So completely different models of the world, right? So the people in their late teens and early 20s, I want to give it to them so that they get an idea that wonder is something that continues. It doesn't just have to die when you get a job and you've got a couple kids and a car and a house to manage and blah blah blah. I want to give it to them so that they can see a future that's different than what may be prescribed to them. So I'm super excited for those people. I also see benefits in giving it to people like my parents who are now retirement age, who are just, in that phase where they feel like they're losing the wonder. They're retired, they don't feel like they have anything to do anymore. They're starting to feel like they lost their purpose. When in actuality, my parents are some of the wildest humans that I know and amazing. And I think if they locked into that kind of curiosity and that more of that wonder vibe, I actually think it would make retirement way more fun for them. So I'm excited to give them to both. So I think in this case, I actually think you're kind of right. I think everyone, maybe not my 10-year-old niece. I don't know how she's going to
Yeah,
survive the book, but but
yeah,
from teens up,
and
sure. It's a great book.
yeah, yeah, and the people in between that who are maybe
Yeah.
just leaders in business, medium businesses, large businesses, people who are just looking who could use some refreshing encouragement for. As I say, nothing is in the book is theory. It's what I learned in hotels. It's what I learned in corporate businesses where we sort of dare to be different, and some real examples of a clearer, easier way to return to.
And it's truly a
Mm.
master class on hospitality. Like if you are actually in a service industry of any sort, whether you're like me and dealing with clients writing books, whether you're at a hotel or in a restaurant or selling whitewater rafting trips, it doesn't matter. If you're service based, if you're focused on dealing with humans, there's something to learn. I took a whole bunch of beautiful things from working with Peter that I have instituted in my own business, which is how Peter ended up with a house hippo, actually.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Right?
definitely. And then there are many lessons that I learned in hospitality, and the
Yeah.
beauty of it, or often people think that hospitality is reserved for restaurants and hotels. That's what they do, but it's all transferable, easily transferable to any business environment or even our home life as well.
I love it. All
Um,
right, so we're gonna wrap this up, but after working with me for almost a year, your book's gonna come out very shortly. What advice would you give for anybody who's like, I'm thinking of writing a book. I don't know if I need a coach or whether I should do this or how I should do this. After, basically 5 years of writing your book and now getting it ready to go to the published stage, what advice would you have for people who are thinking about writing a book now?
that sometimes you can't do, or often you can't do everything by yourself.
Hmm.
That writing a book is a very lonely experience, and you can only encourage and guide yourself to a certain point.
Mhm.
And I met you when I had this rambling Word document that had no real intention or purpose or structure or anything else. It was just a
I
Word
remember that.
document. It just kept growing and growing and growing, and I just kept writing and writing and writing. So, the guidance and support sometimes you need that more than anything as your sort of shining light to see through. So it's just something that for me it's just an automatic suggestion that
I love it. And
um,
like I've always,
yeah
I mean, I'm biased, obviously, based on what I do for a living, but even for myself, when I've written my own books, I often will hire a mentor or a coach to work with me and help me pull things apart. A
mm,
developmental editor, somebody else in the industry, a colleague, because we only can do so far on our own. You're right. We can only
yeah
get it so far. And
yep
sometimes when you have another reader, or especially somebody who's in the industry, read it, they often give you insight and suggestions. But I always joke, but I actually genuinely believe that most of my job is not actually coaching you on sentence structure or, how to write a stronger sentence. My job is really to kind of work with you, the human, and make sure that
mm,
you're okay and that you're putting
yep
out your best work and that you're seeing the beautiful lessons in between that are tucked in the folds and
yeah
between the lines. And
but
that for me is the
again
most rewarding part.
yeah and it goes I think on reflection the greatest thing that I loved possibly more than anything else is that not only were you always there, but you were like my sounding board where I had that thought or that idea or that thing, and I would be able to say to you, what do you think? How
Yep.
does that sound? Do you like this? Have I got this wrong? Have I got this right? So um, that sounding board was one of the greatest things for me. And but
You're
you would never answer with the obvious answer that your answers were always very considered and outrageously enthusiastic. So it was you'd
I,
be like, well, you would then give me
I do. I
five
go.
examples for you know
I listen, I want you to consider
Um,
all the thoughts, right? And you know as well as anybody with the length of time we work together that I sometimes if you ask me a question, I will always stop to contemplate it for a second before I answer it. And sometimes if I don't know the answer, I will literally say, you just need to leave this with me for a minute. I need to think about it. I'll get back to you. I want to ponder how it would actually play out. Half of the best ghostwriting, book coaching, writing experience that you can have in my world is always collaborative, right? We
yeah,
create more wonder together than we do apart, and I love that because it's fun for me to work with an author like yourself who's so interested in being collaborative and throwing out your own suggestions and your what if I did this or what do you think of that? And open when I'm like, actually, I have an idea. What do we think about this or that or the other thing? You and I went back and forth on titles, subtitles, recipes, whether they should be recipes or not, how many recipes there should be, whether we needed 5 stories or 2 stories on things. Like you were so collaborative in the process that it actually makes working together so much more of joyful, right? Oftentimes we experience or I have people that come with fear that like, oh, they're just gonna rip my work to shreds and they're so scared of what I have to say. Were you ever scared of anything I have to say? Because I mean that's never obviously my
no,
goal, but
no. No, it's reassured is probably the word
yeah.
that I would use. But the other parts of the answer with writing by yourself and trying to do the whole thing by yourself is that you always you were very honest with where I'd gone too far. You calmed me down or brought it back, and where I'd underdone it, you said you need to lift the emotion or the energy or the point or whatever it was. So because whenever you're writing as the author, you know the words you've written, but without the opinion or guidance of someone else. So I know that some places I went way too far. Like, oh, he's up in the clouds again. Come back down, and then that bit, bring this up,
But
celebrate that.
there were
Yeah.
moments with you where I was like, Peter, have a stronger opinion. Make it a
Mm,
statement. Don't like
mm.
I want you to show me, not just tell me, right? That was kind of the theme of what you and I spoke about. And I think that that's so important for authors, especially if it's your first book, is really kind of honing your voice to be like, this is what I believe, this is what I'm so strong about. And you from the get-go were so strong on, I believe in wonder. I want this message for everybody. I know this can help people in a world that's like struggling right now, whether, however we're struggling, everybody's struggling somehow. Let's let's find ways to bring wonder back in so that we don't lose our joy and our humility and our humanity in the process. And I thought that that was a great message. So, when we really, and you and I worked on Peter's favorite thing to do in his sentences is start them with the word but.
Not anymore.
There are no buts allowed. We don't put buts in sentences. So the sentence, so just simply taking that out though, I watched the power and the empowerment in you as an author come out, and your opinions got stronger as we went. And so what Peter was recognizing and expressing to me earlier today was that, some of his chapters came really early and he didn't necessarily write in chapter order when he did the book. There were certain chapters that were easier to write, certain chapters that were harder to write. And so he bounced a little, but as he was bouncing, when he went back and looked at what he had written like 4 years ago versus what he was writing towards the end, it was like, oh man, we really need to tighten up those early on chapters because the process of writing the book is such that you change as an author. I mean,
Yeah,
you've
sure did.
changed in a year, like not and like in all the best ways, but you have changed as a writer, as an author, as somebody with a voice, as a speaker in the last year. And it's important that we commemorate that and put that into the book as well in all the chapters, no matter what year they were written in.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Woo,
that's been a joy and
amazing.
a fun experience
Mm,
to watch. So I, I have nothing more to say. I think you're amazing. I'm super excited for your book to come out. Um,
thank you.
I'm so excited to give copies to friends and family members this holiday season because I mean, I became so attached to the message while we were writing, which doesn't happen with every book I write, but I became so attached to the message that I'm so excited to like send it off to other people. Because this really feels like a good vibe uplifting, empowering book when so many of the other books that are going out into the world right now are more about like just trying to save ourselves. This isn't a book about saving yourself. This is a book about reconnecting and finding yourself all over again. And that's pretty cool to me. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me, Peter.
No, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Well,
Thank you ever so much indeed.
enjoy your ducks. Enjoy the process of launching this book. When it's ready to launch, we'll share more details. But for right now, all you need to know is Peter Merrett, Wonderlicious, coming this fall. Thanks again, Peter. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.